I'm Chawne Kimber. I'm a quilter and an artist, and sometimes I like to make really, really big things. But lately I like to make super small things. So today I want to show you a log cabin block that I've shrunk with a shrink ray, and I can show you the technique for getting there. So this block here is probably small for most people with 1/4-inch logs showing, but it's a little too big for me. And so I decided to go down smaller. And there are great ways of getting there. In particular, I still use a 1/4-inch seam, but I am only showing 1/8 on the back. And so you can see the difference here. As I sew, I'm doing 1/4-inch seams on 1/4-inch logs, and so the seams start to lock in on each other. You'll see that the seams are 1/8 inch apart. So here are some techniques. I do cut my logs slightly bigger so that I'm always holding something large. So for these, even though I only want 1/8 exposed, normally you would cut a 5/8 inch strip. I'm going to go ahead and cut a 3/4 inch strip. And because I will be trimming up a lot, they don't even have to be precisely cut 3/4 inch strips. So I just slice a bunch of strips and do them in lots of colors. When choosing the fabrics for things that are small, you want high contrast because you want to be able to see that you're sewing lots of smaller pieces together. If things don't have contrast, then they start to blend in together, and it's not really what you want. The center of my block is a 5/8 inch square that I do cut precisely. So I just take one of these 3/4 inch strips of red, and then I trim it down to 5/8. That's something you can handle. So then we're going to build this in stages. So first I'll sew on a 1/4 round in white, and then orange, white, and yellow, and then turn and sew. And so I'll slowly show you how we build into this block. So I take my 5/8 inch center and my strip, and we go to the machine. So I do take my strip and I just place my square right on top. And I don't bother to cut now. I first sew, and then we trim up. Now, it's super important that you be precise when you're sewing small things because small errors are very big. So one thing that I do to maintain my 1/4 inch seam is that I take blue painter's tape and I lay it down right on the 1/4 inch mark away from my needle. That way when I sew, I just guide by the tape line rather than waiting until I get under the needle when it's too late to turn. So I just put my square on top of my strip, and I'm going to sew the few stitches that it takes to go 5/8 inch. It's a very short period of time. And then we cut. And so then at this point, I just trim down, cutting at the bottom of my red square. You then open up with the square, the red square on the bottom, and then you finger press. And you turn. Turn the top of your red square to the top of what you're about to sew. And again, I just place it on top of the strip, right where I want to sew, and then proceed. Now, because there's so many tiny little seams, you don't want to have to get up and press at your iron every time. So the finger pressing is extremely important. And you want to do it nice and tight, making sure that you can hear all those threads getting put into submission. And so then I have the first round. Then we need to trim up. And so I want to have 1/8 inch exposed with a 1/4 inch seam. So that means I need to trim my logs back to be 3/8 of an inch before I sew on the next round. And so having a ruler that has 1/8 inch marks all the way down actually makes it very easy. So I always measure from the center line, and I place my ruler on there. I know I want a 3/8, and so I set there, and then I cut. Then I turn, and again, I want 3/8 exposed before I sew the next round. So in my design, of course, it is a quarter log cabin, and so I'm not ready to turn yet. I do want to apply an orange round right on top of that. I go back to the shorter end, place that on my strip, and so on. Just 1/8 from the seam that we just sewed. So if we take a look here, we normally would not see the line that we just sewed on, but because it is landing 1/8 of an inch sooner than your usual, you do now see that the seams are 1/8 of an inch apart. Therefore, I will only be exposing 1/8 in the front. So again, I turn and I finger press, and you can see now that 1/8 of the white is exposed. Again, I just trim the edge, and with the red center at the top again, place it on my strip, and I will sew down. Now locking in the other seam from the other side. So I cut, and then finger press open again. And in this way, we slowly build out to what we were trying to make. And so again, I would come and I would trim this to 3/8 of an inch on either side, making sure to keep it square. And then I'm ready to turn and do it again. So the next round will be a white round again. I go to the short side first, and now I am locking in again. Trimming, finger pressing, and I turn. But now I have 1/8 of white showing, 1/8 of orange showing, and we keep going. So I trim, again, the center at the top, and I sew down. It gets kind of fun after a moment. It's very slow. It's not what you're used to. Yeah, but I think that the results are actually kind of thrilling. To see that you're able to sew 1/8 pieces is really super fun for me. And so again, now we have white, orange, and then white again, and I'll go with yellow now, after I trim again to 3/8 of an inch. And so then after this, after I sew on the yellow, I then need to turn and make a white round. And so we'll pretend that I've already sewn on my yellow, and now I want to turn and put white on these two sides. And so it doesn't matter which side you begin with, you just then sew down. And it looks a little weird, so I thought it'd be good to show you how that goes. So it gets a little thick in places, but the heft is what makes it wonderful. And so I turn and then finger press. It looks like this, and then I'll put a white strip down this edge. And we open and finger press. And so you can see how it's starting to build out. I would again trim to 3/8 inch and go from there. still building. So let's go back and look at the steps as we build them out. So far we've built the first quadrant of our piece. We then turn, we keep adding colors, and then we turn again and we keep adding more colors. Then finally we've built out to our original block that was our goal. It would be great for a large quilt design if you used pieces that had varying sizes. And so I would use small ones and big ones and even bigger ones. So I hope you give small quilting a try.